Good evening. Today is Monday, November 16th, 2015. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We're here for the purpose of the regular meeting of the Elmhurst City Council. Normally, we lead off with the pledge. At this time, I'd like to invite Troop 78 from my alma mater, Sandburg Junior High, to come right up here and lead us in the pledge. Right over here, gentlemen, and face our American flag over here. I'd ask everyone please rise. We'll follow your lead. Wait till everyone's set up.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask you please call the roll.
Deuter. Here. Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Polemski. Here. York.
Here.
Toledo. Here. Healy, absent. Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Onquist, absent. Wagner.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
11 present, 3 absent.
11 present, 3 absent. We have a quorum. Okay, on to agenda item 3.1, something a little different tonight. It's something we do to dot the i's and cross the t's legally as it relates to our budget and what we're required to do according to our state law. And that is we're going to open up a public hearing on the annual budget for 2016. So there's a public hearing scheduled for this evening. The public hearing concerns the city's proposed 2016 budget. I call the public hearing regarding the 2016 budget to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Deuter. Here. Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Polemski. Here. York.
Here.
Toledo. Here. Healy, absent. Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Onquist, absent. Wagner.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
11 present, 3 absent.
11 present, 3 absent. We have a quorum. I would ask the clerk to read any written comments concerning this matter into the record.
Mr. Mayor, we do not have any written comments for me to read and put in the record.
Okay, at this time, are there any members of the public that would like to make any comments for the record as it relates to the budget? I will remind the folks in the audience, this is in addition to the public forum that we're going to have. It's agenda item 6. This is in addition to that, so don't get confused. If you've signed up for that, we're still going to have an opportunity for that. But as it relates to this public hearing, is there any members of the public that wish to make any comments at this time? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, I will close the public comment as it relates to this public hearing. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Alderman York, second by Alderman Mulliner. All in favor? We'll go with the voice vote. Sorry, we're going to go with the voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Hearing is adjourned. Okay. Public hearing for the 2016 budget is officially handled, and we will move on to the rest of our meeting. As the council knows, we do have a hotel motel tax, and we do spend that money promoting Elmhurst, among other things. And we're very fortunate this evening to have Beth Marchetti. She's the Executive Director of DuPage County Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm going to ask Beth to make her way to the podium there, and she's just going to provide the council with a brief update of what some of our dollars are doing, and she has a short slideshow. Ms. Marchetti, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Beth Marchetti, as Mayor said. I have been with the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau for 16 years, and in the last year was named Executive Director. So thank you for the opportunity. I haven't been here, and I've been making my way through all the communities of DuPage. So I've been here many, many times, but not in front of City Council. Ooh, let's try that again. I want to be really brief because I was told to be brief, but then I want to make sure I get the points across, but I'll be really quick on the history of the organization. We were founded in '87 and certified by the state of Illinois in 1989, and that really means that we are the official destination marketing organization for DuPage County. We receive state grant funds in normal years. And we are funded by state taxes and state occupancy tax, and then also municipal support, some county money, and we're a membership organization. So we, at this time, I really would like to thank Elmhurst for being a long time supporter of ours. Our mission is really to promote the county as an ideal destination, but 70% of our efforts are really to attract meetings, conferences, and sports tournaments, because those are the areas that really generate significant return on investment for our hotel partners. Last year in DuPage County, actually the last numbers that we have, 2014, we generated $2.43 billion in visitor expenditures. We employ about 21,000+ people in the industry, generate nearly over $186 million in state and local tax receipts. And without tourism revenue, every Illinois household will pay an additional $1,300 or more in taxes annually. So again, I think there was a little bit of a misnomer for a while. Our organization really is an extension of the hotel sales force that's already in place. We go further out to bring additional business for our hotel partners. So we are lead generators. We also are convention services. So if there's a group that's already here, Chicago had from Mayor Daley, We're Glad You're Here program. We provide the same services. We'll make welcome bags, we'll provide welcomes, provide convention registration support. Any tours that they want to go on, we'll help create the itineraries for them. We again market DuPage County because when you're in Washington, D.C., most likely they've not heard of DuPage County, and unfortunately they've not heard of many of our municipalities. So we're really showing them that we're a great alternative to downtown Chicago, much more affordable, really convenient. We obviously really work hard at advocacy, product development, and then also tourism research. So if anyone is our hotels are looking for us for trends in the hotel world, we're able to provide that information for them. Again, I talked a little bit about meetings mean business, so there's just a graph chart to show you. An average day tripper to Illinois spends about $134 a day, but a meeting or sports attendee spends $262 a day. So again, that's really who we're trying to target. And then just to give a little idea of how many hotel rooms we have in DuPage County, when Chicago was vying for the Olympic bid for 2016, their bid required 80,000 hotel rooms. We have over 16,000 hotel rooms in DuPage County, so we really would be almost a quarter of the hotel rooms required for the Olympic bid. Fortunately, we all know we didn't get that bid, and we'll keep going. As I said, we really are trying to generate a lot of sports events. Now, all of these we didn't, like Ryder Cup, we didn't bring it to DuPage, but certainly Medina, and then we were there to help support that. We actually created a booking engine on our website to generate hotel rooms for DuPage County communities so that they weren't all staying in downtown Chicago. But what I really wanted to target is just this past July, we brought a huge bowling tournament, which was headquartered at Stardust Bowl in Addison, but did create bowling sites in 5 different bowling areas, bowling alleys, and generated 20,000 room nights, about $34 million in economic impact. And that was a 3-year effort on our part, working those meeting planners, the sports right tournaments, and make sure that they hold their tournament here in DuPage. So it's a great win for us. So specifically for Elmhurst, this is just a screenshot of our Simple View database. It's pretty complex, pretty robust, and this is how our hotel salespeople actually go in, receive their leads, get their information. And in the last year for Elmhurst, we generated $831,000 in economic impact. And that's just a sample of the screenshot of what the hotel partners would see. PepsiCo, bowling, we actually brought that in. Comic Conference, there's just a lot of different little smaller, we don't have a convention center here in DuPage, but we actually generate a lot of smaller to mid-sized meetings for our hotel partners, including all the great hotels in Elmhurst. And I won't go through all this, but this is the landing page on our website, and I would encourage everyone to go on and take a peek at it. Mayor was gracious enough to provide a welcome for our video that features Elmhurst, and I know Cassandra has been working on a great video, so we really want to make sure we're cross-pollinating, cross-promoting everything that's great about Elmhurst. Obviously, tourism is a job and a revenue generator. Our state travel director, Corey Jobe, was appointed by Governor Rauner. He's a huge advocate of tourism, and if you don't know, he was also the chairman on the board of the Chicago Convention Bureau, Choose Chicago. So hopefully at some point when there's a budget, we'll be seeing that, that investment in tourism again. Why I really wanted to come tonight is tourism in our landscape has really changed. Many reasons for that. First and foremost, Chicago and Rosemont were able to, a couple years ago, get a departure tax on taxis leaving O'Hare, and they actually used that money for incentives to go after the business that used to be the ideal fit for DuPage County hotels. So the low-hanging fruit, we no longer have access to because they're going to Chicago because they're actually able to offer them incentives to come. Secondly, Senate Bill 508 was signed by Governor Rauner this year. That is a bill that provides state hotel tax incentives for municipal-owned convention centers. So now, Schaumburg, Tinley Park, Peoria, Quincy, Collinsville all have access to state occupancy tax dollars to bring those conventions to their areas. Now again, we don't have a convention center, but a lot of those conventions not only hold the big conventions, they also hold the breakouts and the smaller meetings that our hotels could accommodate. So I do think that's going to really impact our hotel future. And then finally, with the competition, I guess as a response to that, I'm attempting to launch a pilot program next month with our hotel partners. The county is actually, DuPage County, and Dan Cronin, Chairman Cronin, has been able to put a little skin in the game to help us provide our own little incentive program. We're going to launch it this year with a small effort and hope that, that really helps support our hotels. So our hotel partners will be aware of that next month when we host a hotel meeting. But I'm trying to, create some really great programs to help keep our hotel partners really in the game. So by partnerships, that's how we're really going to grow our organization. We want to make sure that we remain second only to Chicago. We are certainly a force to be reckoned with in DuPage. We are really appreciative of Elmhurst. I can't even tell you how many years I've sat on the tourism committee. I've really enjoyed working with all the attractions, museums, the symphony. You guys, there's a wonderful product here for us to promote, and we really enjoy having a strong partnership. So I just wanted to really come and give you a little information about Elmhurst and DuPage County, and I thank you for your ongoing support. I know you have a full agenda tonight, but I'm certainly available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions this evening while we got her here? Any questions? Seeing none, I'm going to thank you for your time and thank you for your hard work and doing what you can to promote tourism in DuPage County and Elmhurst.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to agenda item 4.2. At this time, we have a very special thing we're going to do this evening. I'm going to ask the Hurt family to join me over here, along with Coach Zitcher. Did I pronounce that right? Coach Zitcher. Meet me over at the podium here. Okay, so this is one of the better parts of the job, let me tell you, when we get to recognize a young person from our community. And as has been our tradition here at City Hall, when we have a state champion, we like to bring them to City Hall so that everybody knows that we have another state champion here in Elmhurst, but also recognize them and allow some of the elected officials to show their appreciation. So we're very fortunate tonight. Young lady Maddie Hurt won a golf championship, state golf championship on behalf of IC Catholic Prep. So before we get started, before I ask your coach to come up here and say a few words, why don't you tell us who we have here, Who has joined you tonight, Maddie?
This is my coach, Matt Richard. This is my mom, my dad, my sister Sophie, my sister Olivia, my grandma, and my grandpa.
Wonderful. Okay, so we got the whole family here. So I know your coach wants to say a bunch of nice stuff about you, and it's actually quite a fascinating journey to hear what Maddie has to do to become the champion that she is. So I'm going to turn it over to Coach Zitcher.
Please pardon me. I'm going to try and do my best not to mess everything up following that act right there. So first of all, I'd like to say that Don Stujak, our head coach at IC, apologizes for not being here. He is down in Florida golfing, of course. But he just wanted to tell Maddie that he was so proud of her skill and ability, and more so her determination to make it through regionals, sectionals, and state. This recognition, he feels, is well-deserved, as her extraordinary run, winning regionals and sectionals to qualify for state in itself was amazing. This would be her third year doing it in a row. And at state, she shot a 79-73, finishing in a two-way tie for first, where there ended up being 2 playoff holes where she went birdie-birdie, demonstrating even more skill, but at the exact same time demonstrating her amazing level of dignity and grace. Personally, I'd like to congratulate Maddie. The only thing that is second to her skill is her humble nature, and that is due in part to her experience, and I think playing with a lot of the boys. If you don't know, she is on the boys team at IC, playing as our 2 most of the time, so that means second best golfer on the team. And more so, I look forward towards next year, Maddie as a senior, going back and doing it again.
So I think that's really an important part. I want to make sure that's not glossed over, is that IC doesn't have a girls' team. So Maddie plays with the boys' team, and she plays, as they said, 2 or 3 on that team. And I was talking to both her dad and her coach earlier, and I've played golf with Maddie's dad, so I know that Maddie gets her skills from her mother. But both Maddie's dad and Maddie's coach said it's such a joy to watch Maddie show up with the boys team and have the other team wonder what's going on, and then watch Maddie get up to the men's tee and strike one right down the middle. And what does she do? She wins. So anyway, it's fantastic. It's a wonderful story. I know you've got a lot of family in town, but it's my pleasure, therefore, to name today Maddie Hurt Day, assign an official proclamation. Now, I'm not going to read all of your accomplishments in here. I'll read the top line, and then I'll read the rest of it. And then I'm going to ask you and your family and coach to come up and pose for a picture, and hopefully Gray will take that picture for us. Anyway, so it's an official City of Elmhurst Executive Office proclamation, whereas high school junior Maddie Hurt, a source of great pride for her parents, Jay and Julie Hurt, and a shining example for younger sisters, Olivia and Sophie Hurt, recently became IC Catholic Prep of Elmhurst's newest state champion. And there's about 5 more whereases about all your accomplishments, but we have a budget meeting tonight, so we're going to go late enough. I'm going to skip to the end. Now, therefore, I, Steve Morley, Mayor of the City of Elmhurst, in recognition of her accomplishments and with great pride, do hereby proclaim November 16, 2015 as Maddie Hurt Day. Congratulations.
She's gonna go to bed. Her day's over. Yeah, she's going home. Night night. Rip out of there.
Let's see who we got here. So we've already introduced everybody, right? Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa,
he's gonna have to separate us.
Tough crowd.
Okay, and I know the rest of the council would like to thank you or congratulate you, so if you walk around and say
Congratulations, Mary. Congratulations. Can I get your card for some lessons?
Great job.
Hey, let's go.
I'm so proud.
You have to take me out for golf lessons.
Hey, congratulations. Go Knights.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
Nice job, Eddie. Congratulations.
Watch your step.
All right.
We break the state champion.
That wouldn't be
All right, one more round of applause for our state champion. Very exciting. Okay. Unfortunately, on with our meeting. Receipt of written communication from the public, agenda item 5.1. At this time, is there anyone who has any written communication they wish to submit at this time? If so, please raise your hand. Any written communication? Please come on up and provide to Clerk Spencer. Okay, very good. Any other written communication? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 6.1, that's public forum. This is an opportunity for anybody in the audience to address the city council on any issue they so choose. We ask out of respect for other people that may want to speak this evening and out of the work that we need to get completed this evening, that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. We ask that you address your comments to the dais. I will be keeping time, and should your comments go over 3 minutes, I will provide you with a gentle reminder and ask you to wrap it up. At this time, Clerk Spencer, is there anybody who has signed up for our public forum this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll start with Gina Ordonez. And did your husband want to speak to, alongside you or by himself? Okay.
I'm Gina Ordonez. I live
Could
at
you speak into the microphone, please? And we ask that you identify yourself. We are recording, and city address is optional. I'm sorry, ma'am, go ahead.
I'm Gina Ordonez. I live at 301 East Wrightwood, and I oppose the installation of a cell tower in Mount Emblem Cemetery. As an Elmhurst resident, I feel like we've been marginalized during this process. Elmhurst citizens turned out en masse for the first 2 meetings that this was discussed at, and their concerns were told were unimportant, and that the cell tower wouldn't cause flooding, and it wouldn't cause danger to public health, and it wouldn't be an eyesore. But all 3 of those things are true, at least in my belief. The monopine tower, it will be the only one in Illinois. It will be at the end of the block, and the tree will soar 50 feet above the rest of the area. Currently, Mount Emblem does not maintain their fences, and the children of the neighborhood go through the holes in the fences, and this tower will be a beacon for those children. And that's one of my main concerns, that in addition to the danger of the radiation, that this is just going to be an attractive nuisance. And even though you haven't voted on this, voted yes on this, it appears to us that they're already marking off the area for the tower to be. And so I presented to the board a bunch of articles on the danger to public health and safety out of scientific medical journals, many of them from other countries. In closing, if you'd like to gamble, we could get video machines in Elmhurst instead of putting in the cell tower that could endanger our public health. Thank you.
Tony Ordonez.
Good evening. My name is Tony Ordonez. I live at 301 East Wrightwood Avenue in Elmhurst. Been an Elmhurst resident for 27 years. My reason for being here tonight is that I vehemently oppose the location of the cell tower. I have no problem with cell towers. Oops, excuse me. I have no problem with cell towers I oppose the location of this particular cell tower. It's exactly 130 feet from my lot line. And I dare say that any of you on the panel, okay, would be appalled at someone mentioning something like that going up next to your property. The area on Wrightwood Avenue is surrounded by trees, the area that they're suggesting, and these are 45 to 50 foot tall trees. This monopine tower is gonna go 50 feet above and beyond those trees, not to mention the fact that all these trees will have to be raised in order for them to clear the area for this tower. I've taken upon myself to take a drive through the cemetery and found no less than 3 sites that are identical to the site that they're proposing, only they're further east, meaning that they'd be more close, much more closer to the commercial area in that borders County Line Road. Also, there is the area from Grand Avenue to Lake Street. That's all, that County Line Road, that corridor, that's all commercial. And I'm sure there's more than ample sites there to erect this tower, okay? The applicant has stated a lot of misgivings on his application, okay? And it starts with asking for a generator, and then all of a sudden now the generator is not necessary. Then he's talking about a monopine tree, and coincidentally, just before they promoted this application, they submitted this application in Carroll Stream. He opposed a monopine tree. How coincidental is that? Okay, so he's trying to be a good salesman, and I congratulate him for it because that's what he gets paid to do. But I hope all you board members take it to heart and put yourself in my place. How would you like a cell tower erected 130 feet from your front yard? Thank you.
John Buckley?
Mr. Mayor, aldermen, and city officials, I'm John Buckley. I'm at 285 East Follette in the 5th Ward, and I'm here to talk about 2 events upcoming with regard to our American Legion Post 187. First, I'd like to thank all of you for holding such a lively meeting a couple weeks ago. There was a lot of debate, and during that debate, I listened to Commander John Scudder talk about the number of things that the Elmhurst American Legion does. And while I was not on his side that night, I was on his side the next day because I called him and we've met, and I am trying to organize a group of private citizens to help support the American Legion. We're organizing a group called the Elmhurst Reserves, whose mission is going to be to support the American Legion Post 187 with donations as well as time and effort. And we need, obviously, your support. If we have the support of the City Council, if you contact your constituents and advise them about this group and advise them about the 2 events upcoming, I think it will go a long way toward showing the town what kind of support these men and women deserve and have earned through their service. I think it's time that we try to serve them. On November 26th, 200 recruits from the Naval Station at Great Lakes will board buses. They are kids from out of town, and they don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, so they're going to be told that they might as well volunteer, but they're not going to volunteer. They're coming here to Elmhurst. They're going to be bused to American Legion Post 187, where they will have a Thanksgiving dinner from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., courtesy of the American Legion Post. The Post would appreciate it if any of you could simply stop by, whether it's for 10 minutes or half an hour. If you can stop by at some point during the day and let them know that they have your support, I think it would mean a lot to them. In addition, on Sunday, November 29th, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the American Legion Post at 310 West Butterfield Road, there is going to be an organizational meeting of the Elmhurst Reserves as well as an open house of the American Legion Post, where we will be trying to get the community energized and organized in supporting this great post and the great men and women who work there and have dedicated significant portions of their lives to public service after having had careers of public service. Whatever you can do will be appreciated. If you could talk to your constituents or anything else you could do, or stop by on Sunday, November 29th, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for all of your good work, and thanks for your support.
John Scudder.
Good evening. I'm John Scudder, commander of THB Post 187 in Elmhurst. And all I have to do is say to the council, thank you very much, because none of this would have been happening if it wasn't for you. I appreciate everything that you've come up with, your suggestions, and your patronage. It means a lot to us. In the military, there's no greater compliment one can give another than, thank you, buddy. We appreciate it.
Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys. Two after him.
Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys. New budget. Just what is this going to cost the residents of Elmhurst? Probably a lot more than they expect. City's kind of spent itself into a little hole. Parking garage. It's running over budget. Some more change orders. It's amazing. Can't build anything in this town without dozens and dozens of change orders. They cost me more. Gave away Han. Gave away the land at the hospital. Every business in this town comes here and gets another hunk of money. Resident floods. Council feels sorry. Then I pick up the paper. DuPage County Water Department. They can't collect the sales tax that was on this town. They're done, they're finished. But wouldn't you know it? Council's all in for it to keep it there. Got to collect more money. Just when is this council going to represent the people? It's nice to spend money, but this is not monopoly. You don't close it up and walk away. And then I pick up the paper. An indoor sports arena. Wouldn't that be nice? Sure would. What are we going to do first? We're going to try to control flooding, or we're going to build a sports complex? Then I look at that little project down there where the old Elmhurst Hospital is. I'd hate to see who in the building department came up with the dumb idea of moving houses so close together you don't have to put windows in them. And the idea of, well, you don't have to buy there. No, you don't. It's pathetic. But it's going to cost me again this coming budget. But what problem are you going to solve? Sports arena? Take care of the water flooding? Pay off our general obligation bonds? Try to figure out how much we're going to get out of the IMET, which nobody in this council wants to talk about?
Mr.
What do we do
Pagash,
with
I'd
the
ask you
rest
to
of
wrap
the-
up your comments, please.
Yeah. What do we do with the rest of the legislative bodies that are adding to the general obligation bonds that the people of this town have to pay? Why don't you tell the people just how much those legislative bodies have put this town in debt?
Margie Fitzharris.
I am, excuse my voice tonight, I have a head cold, but Margie Fitzharris, 195 Schiller, and I'm actually here representing the retail businesses on the home rule tax. We were, as someone mentioned, here a couple of weeks ago for a lengthy discussion on trying to help the businesses. And this would be a small way that I think you, as you all had said, would like to do something to help all the businesses in town to not renew the sunset of the 1/4% home rule tax. It doesn't seem like much, but maybe the same. I know it was for flooding purposes. I've lost my thought there. And it's really all I have to say. I'm opposed to you voting, and I know you're voting it in tonight, and it'll probably pass. But I wanted you to know how, and I'm sure all the retail businesses, whether they're restaurants, bars, the clothing stores, we already know the rents are too high for our boutiques to make a profit, and here we are keeping the sales tax. I wish you would reconsider. Thank you.
Kevin Ryan.
My name's Kevin Ryan. I oppose the cell tower in Mount Emblem Cemetery. Very interesting thing happened this afternoon. I believe the cell tower does endanger residents that are near it within a 500-foot distance. I received an email from city staff this afternoon stating one of the things, the cell tower will be designed in accordance to IAAA standards. I find it very interesting. That tells me there is a danger. At the 11th hour, if I receive an email that we're going to meet these standards, there is a danger. And that only minimizes the risk of the residents. Some other interesting things about the standard is the lease space that the applicant has applied for has changed. First, it started out with 1,600 square feet, then it's 4,900 square feet. If we follow the recommendations made by Ernest Duckworth on the letter I received from him, according to the standards, you would need 14,400 square feet. So I have to ask you the question, what lease site are you voting on tonight? Because all the facts aren't in. All the facts aren't in, and residents are in danger. I don't know how you can have a vote, because things keep changing. Other items, just a couple other items, required setbacks for this standard. The cell tower would have to be a minimum of 110 feet off our property lines. Right now, on the plan submitted, that cell tower is only 85 feet. When it started out, it was 105 feet. God knows where it is today. There's a danger here. And I like I said before, I don't know how you can have a vote if you don't have all the facts. You're going to leave it to the building commission to figure it out? No, the city council needs to figure it out. Or kick it back to the committee. The application is for 70 by 70, 4,900 square feet. And what are you voting on? All the facts aren't in. We're in danger. I received an email late this afternoon, and that just tells me I'm right. The more questions I ask, the more things I don't like about this. Residents are in danger. What are you going to do about it? Elmhurst, I believe, in looking at the video gaming and some of these other things, hold things to a higher standard. That cell tower does not belong in that location. It is going to cause problems. There's going to be issues. People are in danger. And there is an alternative location. Any great plan has a backup plan, backup alternative. What is it? If Mount Emblem is the targeted area, there's a safer alternative. Let's figure it out. Thank you.
That concludes public forum, Mr. Mayor, as far as those that signed in.
Okay, that concludes public forum regarding those who have signed in. However, at this time, is there anybody who did not have an opportunity to sign in our sign-in sheet but wishes to address the council? If so, please raise your hand. I just want to get it. All right, we've got 2 additional folks. I ask you to stick with the same courtesy. 3 additional folks, stick with the same courtesies that I asked everyone else to. And I'm going to go my left to right, so the gentleman all the way in the back, and then you, sir, with the beard, and then you in the back. We'll go from there. Please state your name for the record. And as I said, address is optional.
Good evening. My name is Derek McGrew. I am the petitioner for the cell tower at Mount Emblem Cemetery. Oh, I'm sorry, did I need to say my address?
No, it's
Okay.
optional.
I just wanted to respond to the things that were brought up tonight. So far as safety, we provided documentation on every safety issue that was raised, including flooding and all the other concerns that were raised through the application process. So far as the square footage, yes, there was a typo in the application which was corrected some time ago, and the lease area was initially 40 by 40. It was actually supposed to be 70 by 70. That was corrected some number of meetings ago. I don't know what was handed to you tonight, so I can't respond to that, but that seems to be happening before every meeting. We have a new pile of documentation to respond to. So far as the lightning concern is that was brought up the night of the meeting last time, we provided today a letter stamped by an Illinois professional engineer stating that we can and we will and we commit to designing this tower to meet the IEEE standards, which is in opposition to the letter that the residents had provided from a Colorado engineer last meeting. So far as the location is concerned in the cemetery, that's been asked and answered several times throughout the application process. The cemetery wouldn't allow us to place it in another area in the cemetery. There are a few other, if you just look at the aerial of the cemetery, but the cemetery wouldn't allow us to put it anywhere else. And we do have legal access to the cemetery where we're placing it. So far as the last minute email goes that came in today, it was because we were scrambling trying to get the letter to you today so you could have a chance to read it before tonight's meeting. The tower's never moved. We actually have to provide a what's called a 1A letter, which we file with the Federal Aviation Administration to tell them where the cell tower is going to be to make sure it's not going to be a hindrance to aviation for O'Hare, for example. Just wanted to reiterate that we do meet all of your requirements. We do have a unanimous recommendation of approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Planning and Zoning Committee, and we'd appreciate your, I don't understand you're not voting tonight on this, but we'd appreciate your vote yes at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, this gentleman right here, yes.
My name's William Fox. I live on Wrightwood in Indiana. So I'm a couple blocks further away from that proposed cell tower than these people. But I've lived in my house for 20 years. I moved there because it's a nice residential area. And I'm kind of appalled that it seems like a sellout to your residents, long-term residents who've lived here longer than me. And I would think that the gentleman that just spoke, who's selling that cell tower and trying to convince you of that even he would reconsider if there was just one resident that wasn't in favor of that, find another location. Thank you.
Gentleman in the back.
My name is Michael Kessler. I'm the owner of Orange Theory Fitness, and we're going to be putting a new fitness studio in the Addison Street garage, which was mentioned earlier as one of the projects you guys are hearing about, different items. Anyways, later this evening you'll have an opportunity to review a license agreement that will allow us to move forward with construction of our facility in the garage, and it will allow us to have a functioning, hopefully successful business in that garage, as close to the opening of the garage, and show some activity and some promise for the work that's being done there. And we'll be bringing about 200 visitors per day to that garage and the Schiller Court area, which I know the Schiller Court area, the businesses around there, New Krebs and some of these other ones, have long been looking for additional traffic to come down there, and we're hoping to assist them in that as well. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know we are here if you have any other questions about that when the agenda item does come up, and we are really looking forward to starting business in Elmhurst. And we didn't receive any aid from the city. We're actually, I think, part of the license agreement, there will be some money coming back to the city, actually, if you do move forward with the license agreement. So just wanted to let you know that I'm here to answer any questions if you have any on that item, and thank you.
Okay, I believe that's everyone who raised their hand this evening. Anyone else? Seeing none, we're going to close the public forum portion of our meeting. On to announcements. Any announcements at the dais? Alderman Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's too bad that Maddie Hurt left today, but I just wanted to highlight the fact that IC Catholic Prep will be playing in the state semifinals on Saturday, one step away from the state championship game a week from Friday. So just wanted to highlight that. It's 4 o'clock. Football, yes. 4 o'clock on Saturday at whatever it's called, Plunkett.
Alderman Bram. Thank you, Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to highlight a third ward business that's been in town for many years, probably many decades before I moved to town. They did an extensive remodel, Yorkies on York Road near Mariano's. They pretty much, even though it seemed like they were doing an interior remodel, they pretty much gutted the whole thing and built it from ground zero all the way up. So it's a beautiful new location, a beautiful contribution to the north side near Mariano's and the soon-to-be, hopefully, LA Fitness and Starbucks in that strip mall, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to encourage people to, come take a look at the new facility. They have great food. I eat there frequently, if you couldn't tell. And experience a little bit of good fast food dining on the north side.
Okay, very good. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Agenda item 8. At this time, is there anything on the consent agenda any alderman wishes to have removed so that they may vote no or provide further comment? Any agenda items to be pulled? Seeing none, I will now ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda item as published. Motion by Alderman York, second by Alderman Toledo. Clerk Spencer.
York.
Aye.
Toledo. Aye. Healy. Absent. Levin. Aye. Kennedy.
Aye.
Bonquist. Absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino. Absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
I know. I'll fix it.
11 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries. The consent agenda in its entirety is approved. On to agenda item 9, committee reports. Pardon me. Committee report, agenda item 9.1. It's a report out of Public Works, and I will ask Clerk Spencer to read the recommendation.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Works and Buildings Committee that the change order number 6 from All Steel Iron Works, Inc., in the total amount of $85,765 be accepted, and the city attorney be authorized to prepare a resolution revising the contract with All Steel Iron Works, Inc., signed by Jim Kennedy, Chairman, Marty Deuter, Vice Chairman, Michael J. Bram, and Patrick Wagner.
Okay, to put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the report and recommendation as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy, this is a report out of your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is a change order for the steel on the project. Originally, we had contracted with All Steel Iron for a project total of $133,100. They were a non-union entity, and as the work has begun, they have done all of the fabrication, so what's remaining is the installation portion of it. The local representative for the union, local union came by for the Steelworkers Union and said that the site would be picketed because it's a non-union entity that would be doing the installation work, and by the fact of them picketing would mean that other union entities, namely the glass contractors, would walk off the site, and we're kind of at a situation where in the end it drags out the length of the project, and as we've talked about before, our hope is to be up and operational in the parking deck by the end of December. So Arco Murray looked at this situation. They went back to All Steel, And what we're talking about here is the fact of bringing in another contractor who is a union contractor that will be finishing the work. They are doing it for the exact same dollar amount as the original contract, the balance of $85,765, so that the project can remain on track. So again, keeps the project on track and get it done for the same amount of money.
Okay.
That's that.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to please call the roll.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin.
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carries. On to agenda item 9.2. It's a report out of Public Works. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you read the recommendation.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Works and Buildings Committee that the public bid requirement be waived and the proposal from Horizon Ornamental Steel, Inc. in the total amount of $85,765 be accepted. Furthermore, in the interest of moving the project forward and staying on the current schedule, the committee recommends that the council suspend with the rules to allow the appropriate ordinance to be approved at the same meeting. Signed by Jim Kennedy, Chairman, Marty Deuter, Vice Chairman, Michael J. Braham, and Patrick Wagner.
Very good. To put this before council, I will ask for a motion to approve the report and recommendation as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is just complementary to the previous item that we voted upon. This is for Horizon Ornamental Steel to take on the installation aspect of this project.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to call the vote.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin.
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carries. On to agenda item 9.2 is approved. On to agenda item 9.3. Another report out of Public Works. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you read the recommendation.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Works and Buildings Committee that the temporary construction license agreement with Addison LLC be accepted and the council suspend with the rules to approve corresponding resolution R-127-2015, signed by Jim Kennedy, Chairman, Marty Deuter, Vice Chairman, and Patrick Wagner, unsigned by Michael J. Braham.
Okay. To put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the report and recommendation is read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy, another report out of your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we all know, Addison LLC is the development on Addison Street with the parking garage, and the city currently owns that development. And so what this agreement is in place is to allow Orange Theory, who is the tenant, to be able to ultimately, for their build-out, gain access to their site ahead of the actual completion of the garage, such that when the garage is completed and the sale of the commercial area is made between the city and Arco Murray, that they would be able to start their business up shortly thereafter and be able to start offering their services in the early part of January. As part of this agreement, they will take on the risk of when the developer's taking on the risk of any work that happens, and should something go south, those improvements would be then basically owned by the city, and we were, from a liability standpoint, we're held clear of that based on this agreement. As part of this, they will be paying us rent of $1,000 a month during the time of this construction, and this agreement has a sunset clause, if you will, for January 15th, but as we look at things in the project. The deal should be completed sometime before the end of the year, so around, I believe, December 23rd.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we spoke about this last week, I had concerns and brought up those concerns during committee meeting of moving forward with such an agreement. And the reason behind that is that the City of Elmhurst and Addison LLC has signed an agreement where it specifically stipulates that this is not allowed. So essentially, we're saying that we are modifying that agreement with this temporary construction license agreement to allow the developer, Addison LLC, to do construction prior to what they already agreed to in the document that both parties, the City of Elmhurst and Addison LLC, already agreed to. Is there a benefit to the City of Elmhurst? Sure, we get a tenant earlier than what would be otherwise stated due to where the construction is of the Addison parking garage. Is there a benefit from a financial perspective? After much discussion at the committee, it came back with a proposal of $1,000 rent for that time frame. So there is a little bit of financial benefit to the City of Elmhurst. But sometimes it comes down to, for me at least, that, you sign an agreement, you sign an agreement. This is the second time we're coming to an agreement related to this parking garage to modify it, in my perspective, not to the benefit of the City of Elmhurst as a whole. It would be nice to see Orange Theory in there earlier compared to later. I hold nothing against Orange Theory. I can't wait for them to be in there. As I stated earlier, I eat too much Yorkies, and therefore I need to work out more. So it would be great to see them in there sooner than later. But really, what it comes down to is this. There is a commitment made between the City of Elmhurst and Addison LLC. We should hold true to that commitment. There's a commitment made between Addison LLC and Orange Theory in regards to the lease, and it seems like they can't achieve that commitment unless this temporary license agreement goes into effect. Again, nothing against Orange Theory, nothing against Addison LLC, but the agreement shouldn't have been made if you can't keep up your end of the bargain. And I look at this as accountability. If there was a great need for this to occur, and if the developer in this case was adamant that this happens and they meet the commitment that they put out there themselves with Orange Theory, then I believe that there should have been more compensation, something more in it for the City of Elmhurst residents. Since we are therefore going on the line, going back to an agreement both parties signed, and modifying it to the benefit, the greater benefit, to the developer in this case. Those are the reasons why I couldn't sign it. It's about accountability. It's about if they really needed it, to be done earlier. The purchase should have been done. I know there's things hanging out there, but I think that we should follow the agreement that both parties signed and be accountable on both ends from it.
Okay, any additional comment? Alderman Mulliner.
I'm wholeheartedly in favor of this. I believe that one of the things that we're up here for is to provide that economic development, and this is an opportunity where it's going to have extreme positives for the City of Elmhurst, and I think that if we state that we're for economic development, we need to move forward with being in favor of economic development, and we can't talk out of both sides of our mouths. We need to make sure if we're in favor of it, we move forward and we say this is what we're going to do, and we do it. And this is something where it's an opportunity where we're going to, the money means nothing, the $1,000 is nothing, but an opportunity to get a business in place and operational sooner rather than later, to me, is beneficial to the City of Elmhurst, and we need to be in favor of something like this.
Okay, any additional comment? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to call the vote.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Joyder. Aye. Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
No.
Volumsky.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin. Conquest, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
10 ayes, 1 nays, 3 absent.
10 ayes, 1 nay, motion carries. Agenda item
Be quiet back there.
9.3 is approved.
They're disturbing me. Disturbing when I try to read
Excuse me.
the row.
Mr. Pagash, we're trying to run a meeting here. If you want to talk, I'd ask you to step outside. Thank you. Okay, on to agenda item 9.4. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you read the recommendation.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Finance, Council Affairs, and Administrative Services Committee that the City Council direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance establishing an adjustment to the City of Elmhurst Home Rule Sales Tax rate of 0.25% from 0.75% to 1.00% effective July 1, 2016. Signed by Kevin L. York, Chairman, Bob Dunn, Vice Chairman, Mark P. Sabatino, and unsigned by Noel Toludo.
Okay, put this before council. I'll ask for a motion to approve the report and recommendation as read. Motion by Alderman York, second by Alderman Dunn. Alderman York, a report out of your committee. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. The home rule sales tax report that we have in front of us is a report that the committee believes is absolutely tied to the tax levy report that we'll be discussing a little bit later on this evening. As I've met with nearly everyone up here to discuss these matters, we've all found agreement in that finding funding for the stormwater project seemed to be the ultimate conundrum for this council. We have all been in agreement for quite some time in working towards solutions to these problems, but now that they are within our sight, figuring out the funding mechanism has become the more immediate need. When city staff raised the expiration of the DuPage Water Commission sales tax, it seemed like an opportunity too good not to have a discussion about. I'll have to say philosophically, I'm generally never on the side of raising taxes, and with that said, I, along with some others up here, had no choice but to vote to do that in the past when there were no other options apparent to us. More recently, I, along with a lot of people, led the charge to roll some of those increases back, and will do so again a little later in this meeting. But what we're here to discuss now is the implementation of an additional 1/4% home rule sales tax that would occur 30 days after the expiration of a DuPage Water Commission sales tax in the same 1/4% amount that is currently charged in all of DuPage County. Per the committee report in front of us, in front of you, this incremental part of the home rule sales tax would be restricted to use for payment of stormwater management debt service. This debt service was highlighted early in budget discussions as having no known revenue source other than property tax. As noted in the report, every aspect of the home rule sales tax increase possibility was vetted thoroughly, and at the end of the day, we all agreed that this opportunity was just too good not to take advantage of. What it really boiled down to was that the home rule sales tax increase was a better funding mechanism solution to the taxpayers of Elmhurst than putting this on the property tax bill. You can review the bullet points in the report and see that the sales tax on vehicle purchase will actually decrease. The home rule sales tax will generate an estimated $1.7 million initially in annual revenue, and Elmhurst will remain competitive with surrounding communities with its sales tax rate. Finally, and I think most importantly, a sales tax is a broadly based and it taps consumers from other communities who frequent Elmhurst businesses versus a property tax that taps only property owners. As there are many aspects of this whole home rule sales tax proposition that remain elusive at the moment at hand, like when the bonds will actually be issued, what the interest rates will be, and what the actual revenue stream will look like, the committee believes that it is critical that formal review of the home rule sales tax occur every 2 years until such time that these events actually occur and we know with more certainty what the real outcome of this will be. With all of this being said, I know that the committee unanimously believes that the home rule sales tax solution is far more palatable than putting these extraordinary and additional costs on the property tax bill, and I would ask for your support of this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Dunn, then I'll go to Alderman Toludo.
Just to follow up on some of the things that Alderman York mentioned, we are what we're proposing is to add this home rule sales tax to take the place of a sales tax that was going away from the county. This would put us up from a 0.75% to 1%, which is generally all the neighboring communities are at that level. So it doesn't really put our businesses at a disadvantage where we'd have a higher rate than any other community around us. So generally, we are lower than our neighboring communities, and this just puts us more in line with where those communities are.
Okay, Alderman Toledo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to replace the majority report with the minority report as it's written with the following changes. To make the sunset date suggested in the minority report to be December 31st, 2034, instead of what's currently written, December 31st, 2026. The new date that I'm suggesting in my amendment corresponds to when the finance staff predicts the projected $28 million in stormwater project debt service would be paid off. I would suggest in this motion, in the amendment, that the rest of the paragraph on page 2 can be struck, as that verbiage related to the original date that was suggested.
Okay. We have a motion to substitute the minority for the majority, and also, it's a two-part motion. The other part is changing the sunset of this home rule sales tax from 2026 to 2034. Does council understand the changes that have been made? Alderman Toledo did submit the proposed changes to me. There is on page number 2, last paragraph, December 31st, 2026 gets changed to December 36, 2034, and it reads, unless council action is taken. Everything after that in that paragraph that is on the bottom of page 2 and continues on page 3 is being struck. And then in the recommendation, in the last paragraph, December 31st, 2026 will be changed to December 31st, 2034. So that's the proposed substitution, and then a couple of the changes within the report. At a second, Alderman Levin?
Second of the minority report as amended.
Okay, we have a motion and a second of the minority report as amended. Further discussion? Alderman Toledo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you to the committee for a fair discussion of this topic over the past couple of weeks. I also want to applaud our finance staff and our committee chairman for uncovering the home rule sales tax option as what I believe is a reasonable way to help fund the significant future expenses related to these important stormwater projects. Let me start by saying that a vote in favor of either the minority report or the majority report will approve the sales tax increase to help fund stormwater projects without the need for increased property taxes. These projects are necessary and important. The increase in sales tax is intended in both reports to be used only for stormwater project debt service. I know a majority of us support this tax for this very specific purpose, including myself. I'd also like to be clear that a sunset clause does not need to be scary. According to our city attorney, a sunset clause only takes effect if no action is taken by the council. Flipping that, saying that another way, if action is taken, such as potentially moving the sunset date further into the future, or potentially removing it entirely, the tax would remain in place. This council action can be taken at any time. It does not have to be tied to the sunset date itself. So the point is, the city council, now and in the future, has ultimate flexibility, even with a sunset clause in place. So, given that, one, the tax is for a specific use that will have a specific end date, and two, a sunset clause is flexible if council action is taken. The real question at hand is, whether we will vote in an ongoing revenue source for future councils to spend once the stormwater project debt is paid off. Let me put it simply. A vote for the majority report is a vote for a revenue source for future city councils without knowing what those future needs would be. A vote for the minority report, on the other hand, is a vote to allow a future council to make that decision based on the community needs at that time. My argument is simple, but it does require us to think to the future, 10, 20 years from now, when this council may look very different than it does today. Having a sunset clause in place requires that a future council will debate and weigh the ongoing need for the sales tax against the benefit it is providing to the community. As long as stormwater debt service remains outstanding, it's likely the answer to that question is yes. And that answer is one that any elected official can stand behind. The rub comes when the stormwater debt is paid off. Without a sunset clause in place, the tax may remain in effect without any public debate to determine if it continues to provide a benefit to the community. Now, some of you are already lining up your arguments. You can see some people writing notes on their papers. So allow me to try to address a couple of them that I've thought about and that I've heard from some of you, one at a time. First, you may say, the majority report calls for a formal committee review of the tax and its use every 2 years or so. So we're protected from abuse in that way. Yes, that is true. Both the majority and the minority reports call for a review every 2 years. This is a good idea and hopefully will get done. But there is nothing that requires it will be done. No consequence if it isn't done. The tax just remains in place. Additionally, committee review is just that, committee review. No council review or vote is required. If we all truly intend for this tax to be limited to funding the stormwater projects only, the city council should be required to make that call. A sunset clause simply ensures that discussion will happen. Second, some people have suggested that the state of Illinois is unpredictable. What if they take away our home rule authority and we're restricted in our ability to change our sales tax in the future? Again, yes, the state is unpredictable. But this is a weak argument against a sunset clause. We could say the same thing about any policy decision we are making. If the state alters home rule laws, we will have bigger problems on our hands. We must make decisions based on the facts and the realities of the current situation and adapt from there if necessary. A sunset clause for a home rule sales tax increase is a law of all home rule communities that is unlikely to be changed. Third, it would be reasonable to say, but we don't really know how much we will be spending on stormwater projects, or when will we issue the bonds for them, so how can we say when the bonds will be paid off, and therefore when the tax should end? Alderman Toledo, I can't vote for a sunset clause that has a date that I know now to be wrong and will have to change. Again, yes, that is true. We do not yet have all of the facts. However, based on input from our Public Works Committee chairman, all these projects will get done. We all know that they need to be done, and we will need $28 million for them. Given that, and given reasonable assumptions by the Finance Department, who we know to be very conservative, $28 million in stormwater debt service can be paid off by December 31st, 2034. That's the date that is in the amended minority report. If it is paid off, the tax can sunset without any council action. If the debt is not paid off, the council, at that time, can decide if the tax needs to be extended to finish paying the debt. A sunset clause, again, simply ensures that discussion will happen. Finally, you may find yourself thinking, but we know that the cost for the city to provide its services continues to increase. There will always be a need for more money to do more. While this may be true, it is a weak argument against the sunset clause. What business, small or large, charges its customers a higher price today to pay for its increased costs years from now? The answer is none. None that will be around for long. To be responsible stewards, we cannot contemplate a tax on future taxpayers without knowing what the community's needs will be at that time. A sunset clause ensures that a full discussion of the tax and its benefits to the community happens at the council level when those facts are in hand. So in summary, I appreciate your patience and your attention. I call on your support for the minority report. Your vote for a sunset clause does not limit the council in any way, nor in the future. It simply requires that a future council discuss the tax and its ongoing use to the community once the stormwater debt is paid. The majority report does not require this discussion to take place and gives a future council an easier path to a permanent tax increase. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Mulliner.
I oppose the minority report for a couple of reasons. One is we have a budget process that reviews all revenue and expenditures on an annual basis. That's what our obligation is as a city council. That's what future obligations are for city councils. They're obligated to review revenue sources as well as expenditures. I know we spend a great deal of time on expenditures, but revenue sources are the other half of the equation that we deal with. Secondly, one of the things that we must keep in mind as we're looking at this revenue source is, at this time, it's being looked at as the source to help pay off the debt. We have to keep in mind that a number of these projects are going to have ongoing maintenance costs to them. It's not going to be something where just because we put in a system, that system's going to take care of itself. As we put in mechanical systems that have to pump things out, there's going to be additional debt that's going to be incurred when we have to replace that equipment. So this debt is going to be something, this tax is going to be something that's going to be needed. And this is a much fairer tax than to do what a number of other cities that have done, who have gone forward and put in stormwater taxes, which have just taxed the homeowners. This is a way for us to utilize revenue that's coming in from taxpayers who are outside of the city of Elmhurst, not just taxpayers within Elmhurst. And we really have to make sure that we're focused that the fact that stormwater is something that's not going away. Even though we may have these projects resolved, we're still going to have these ongoing maintenance costs that we're going to have to pay. I'd much rather have future councils have their opportunity to review this on an annual basis and determine whether or not they want to maintain this than us to set in a sunset clause that says it's going to end on a particular date. So I oppose the minority report and support the majority report.
Alderman Levin.
Thank you. I'm just going to make a comment to both as long as I'm speaking. I do think that it's a good proposal, majority or minority report, to fund this need. I think other cities who are probably in less of a good financial position as we are may also entertain taking advantage of the fact that the DuPage Water Commission tax is going away, and I think that'll keep the playing field level. I have a preference for the minority report. We say in both reports that the purpose isn't to take care of ongoing maintenance. It's not to be another general source of revenue. It's to take care of a specific problem, a capital need for storm water. And I think any council can act at any time, whether the majority report or the minority report is passed. A council 4 years down the road could change it, and they don't have to wait until 2034. So it's not tying anyone's hands. But I think it sends a message that we're doing it for stormwater. We're trying to tie it, as Alderman Toludo said, to a date when we expect it to be taken care of. And it sort of takes out the general clause of, or such other projects that may need addressing at that time, which to me is an open door to say, yeah, we need a new police station, we could use this money. Let a future council decide if it wants to extend this presented by both parties as a special kind of tax. There's oversight every 2 years, I appreciate that, but I think a sunset's a better idea, and that's how I will cast my vote.
Alderman Palumski.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Alderman Toledo and Levin. In thinking about the point that our budget process addresses this, our budget process allows us to look in the future and 5 years out. We don't really have an idea of how we arrived at these numbers. So we might be looking at projections for what we're going to need to spend in a certain area, but we may not know that 10 years ago somebody thought that that was a temporary expenditure, or somebody cut away one program and allocated that funding elsewhere. We just don't have that information. So I think that requiring us to take a look at it gives us will give a future council added information in the budgeting process. I think it simply serves as a mechanism to require a future council to revisit our intent as the context as they determine how to proceed. Thanks.
Additional comments? Alderman Dunn.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The minority report is a good report. It's almost identical to the majority report, except for the sunset clause. And sunset clause is not that bad of an idea. In fact, during our discussions, when we were looking at the pro forma for the revenues versus the debt service, I was the first to recognize out in 2034 we would be able to pay off this obligation, and that might be an opportunity to end this particular tax. But through the discussions, it was there's a lot of uncertainties in if we can get these projects done. We are having elongated discussions with the park districts, park district, the school, District 205, and we don't know when those are going to be done, nor when exactly when the debt would be issued to pay for those. And the revenue for this is also uncertain, but either way, I'm okay. I favor the majority report. I think over the next 10 years or so, regardless of what report is passed tonight, things will be the same, 10, 15 years maybe. But at some point, and it's pointed out in the majority report, the intent of this home rule sales tax is to fund this stormwater projects in these 3 or 4 years, over the next couple years, and that there should be a serious look at whether that should be an ongoing tax at that point. So because of really the uncertainty, and we have a minority report that said 2026. I'm not sure what the reason for that was, but now we're back to 2034. So you can see there's a lot of uncertainty in what makes the most sense. We're moving dates around. So we also, our 0.75% home rule sales tax does not have a sunset, so we'd be layering this 0.25% on top of that base that doesn't have a sunset. So for those two reasons, I favor the majority report, and I won't be supporting the minority report. Thanks.
Okay, any additional comments? Alderman Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to start, regardless of majority and minority, I'm in favor of extending this because we clearly have some tremendous needs as it relates to stormwater, and this gives us the opportunity to collect monies from people that are going to visit our town and not just the residents of Elmhurst. I am opposed to the sunset clause because what I want to remind council is that the dollar amounts that have been talked about in this report really only talk about the projects that are related to schools and parks and all of the the above-ground storage, if you will, that we're gonna be doing. There's nothing in here that talks about the upwards of maybe 40 or 50 million dollars that will be required for infrastructure improvements to allow us to ultimately be able to put more water into Salt Creek and the compensatory storage that's required to allow us to do that. So, whether we pick a date or not, it can't be 2034 because we're probably gonna be spending debt service money probably into the 2050s or beyond. So I'm against that. As it relates to the point of a sunset clause, I think it kind of weakens the desire or the need for councils to look at it every 2 years because there's a little bit of, in my mind, a little bit of the kicking of the can down the road. Well, I don't have to worry about it. Somebody already has decided I don't have to look at this for another 15 years. I think by requiring a review, and I think we need to trust councils to act like we would act, and that is through the budget process, that they look at it every 2 years, they make the necessary decision, and they go on and decide whether it's thumbs up for this purpose and at this amount, or thumbs down and they move on and do something different. Thank you.
Alderman Bram?
Thank you. I have a few questions to start and then some comments after that, if I can get clarification from someone on the committee on this. The home rule tax that we're proposing, the 1/4%, it does not impact, to my understanding, food and drug. It does not impact vehicle sales. So the question to me is, what does it impact? So what are the categories that this tax actually would be applied to? That's the first question. It also documents in attachment A that we received, and Alderman Toledo modified or amended the current minority report to end this in 2034. The way I was reading this attachment would be that debt service would be done in 2038. So unless I'm reading that attachment incorrectly, I'm curious on why we modified or amended to 2034. And then also on that attachment, it says projected annual increase of 2.5% every fiscal year. Historically, and maybe our staff knows this better than committee, but is this a historical number that we've seen, an increase in this piece of the home rule sales tax, increase of 2.5% every year? Is that conservative, or is that right on the dime? If those questions can be answered before I speak to either the minority or majority report.
You had a question about the, what does it cover? The general merchandise question, and then the 2.5% increase. What was the middle question, Alderman Bram?
That one. Oh, and why 2034 versus how I read 2038?
Okay. Some of these are general questions. I'm going to throw it to Alderman York first.
I believe the 1/4% would affect the general merchandise category. That would go up from 0.75% to 1%. The second question again was?
So was that clothes? I mean, what's general merchandise, I guess, defined?
Not services. You buy something in town.
General merchandise is not food and drug, and it's not vehicles. So it'd be like clothing, it'd be jewelry, it'd be all those types of things.
Go with the 2.5%, and I'll let Alderman Toledo go with the other.
City staff looked at trends in home rule sales tax collections, because we already collect, as you know, 0.75%. So actually, it was one of Alderman Toledo's questions in one of the first sessions was, can we justify that? And it's been, city staff has proven that that's a reasonable number. You could make a case for it being higher in the long run. You could make a case for it being lower in the long run. But I think the committee overall was really comfortable with the projection as it is. There's
Fiscally conservative.
Yep.
Alderman Toledo, your sunset clause is 18 years. You want to give a little thought or reason behind that?
Yeah, so Alderman Bram, you referenced attachment A. You read attachment A correctly in that column B suggests that the debt service would be paid by the end of 2037. However, in column D, what is captured there is a cumulative balance of the excess sales tax that is collected annually that is not needed to pay that annual debt service. So at the end of 2034, we will have $5.4 million in fund balance that can be used to pay off the remainder of the debt service, which is why I chose 2034 as the year to end and to sunset the tax versus 2037. So we actually would save about $260,000 in debt service if we retired all of the debt by 2034. Did I make that clear?
Follow-up?
Sure, Alderman Braham.
Is that the assumption that we would apply all of the 1% sales tax at that time, column D being all the 1% at that time to pay off that debt service, or are we still talking about that 0.25%?
That is, sorry, that's only the 0.25%.
Thank you for the clarification of those questions. The reason why I ask, if I may, the reason why I asked the question about what is general merchandise, I mean, a good deal of our sales tax revenue comes from car sales. That's no surprise to anybody here, where this wouldn't impact car sales. This wouldn't impact food and drug. So really what this is doing, Chairman, DuPage County Chairman Cronin, as well as the county board, did a good thing, I think, of proposing that 0.25% goes away middle of next year. For us to raise it back up, to me, we might be cutting off our nose to spite our face from the standpoint of we're hurting small businesses. We talked about earlier about economic development, talking out of both sides of our mouth, and what do we need to do as a community to continue economic development here. I'm a little bit concerned that this 0.25% might be an impact to that. I think the intentions are well. I agree, we have a huge looming debt in front of us for stormwater improvements. And a revenue source is definitely needed. But this small segment that this would impact, clothing, jewelry, essentially small businesses, do we want to put another hurdle in front of small businesses, or do we want to give them an advantage? It was mentioned before by some of the aldermen that, this would level the playing field to the communities around us. Well, that's true and not so true. Essentially, the communities directly around us, Villa Park is at 0.5%. Oak Brook is at 0.5%. And we could make the claim that, what's a 0.25%? It's not going to do anything. But when it comes to a small business, I have that concern where it will do something. I want to see our downtown thriving. I want to make sure that we do everything we can to ensure that occurs. If this was a 0.25% across all sales tax generating businesses, I'd be right on that train with everyone else. It's a small piece, it's a small segment of the small businesses, and primarily those businesses, at least currently in the city of Elmhurst, are small businesses, not the big corporations. So I do have some concern of moving forward with either of these reports at this time, negating the impact that the county board has done by removing that 0.25%. I think it might give us more sales tax revenue by not doing the 0.25% and having more people shop in Elmhurst and bring them to that small business in turn, eat in Elmhurst, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my position. I was on the fence walking in to tonight, and it was great to hear other comments because I do like the sunset clause, and walking in tonight, I was in support of the minority report. But I'm hesitating now because I think it might be best not to cut off our nose despite our face and not do either.
Anyone who hasn't spoken yet? Alderman Levin?
I have a question. One of the premises for my supporting the sunset clause was on the assumption, perhaps incorrect, that attachment A was presenting the debt service that was contemplated and that the increased sales tax was to retire that debt. Then I heard Alderman Kennedy speak to the possibility that it's not just this debt on attachment A, but which is 3 sets of 20-year bonds, but it might be more. And I'd like to ask for clarification on that, because if it's this, I'm in favor of sunset. If it's just ongoing indebtedness that we take out for stormwater correction, then I don't know how we would know where the end is, and maybe between Public Works.
I'm going to allow Alderman York to answer that.
Oh, well, I think it's, what's on the schedule there pertains to the three bond issues. We've already issued $4 million in bonds that are already in action. And then there's a contemplation of 19 million, and it's on the sheet, or 14 million and 9 million, right? Is that what's on the sheet?
14 million and
Yeah.
9.
So Those items are just for kind of what's on the books over the next 2 years. It doesn't go much further than, it doesn't go any further than that right now. The schedule does not go any further than that.
But maybe Alderman Kennedy, are you contemplating that there's additional bond issuance that's going to occur beyond, shortly, say, between 2017 and 2020, that's going to be added to this total?
Alderman Kennedy, you want to answer that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do. We in Public Works have only in the last few months started to talk about what's going to be necessary beyond the projects with the Park District and the school board and those other areas where we can store water on the surface. We know there's going to be additional monies need to be spent for infrastructure on, particularly in Southwest Elmhurst, as it relates to being able to get more water into the into the creek and the compensatory storage that will be necessary to allow us to do so. So we need, bigger pipes, bigger pumps, and the compensatory storage to allow us to do that. So, yes,
Alderman
those
York?
monies are
Sorry.
not in this review here.
Alderman York?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd ask city staff, and thank you, Assistant City Manager Kopp, for putting this chart up. I thought this was an important diagram for everybody who's been on board docs has seen this, and the people who I've met with have seen this. But I think this is important for the general public, anybody who may be watching at home. As you can see, this is things as they are today, and Elmhurst is a home rule community. That's what HR means. And we currently have a home rule sales tax that's 0.75%. We're thinking about raising ours, or what we're talking about tonight is raising it 0.25%, so it would be 1%. Before it slips my mind any further, the other reason that the DuPage Water Commission sales tax is going away is because they've used it for its intended purpose. All the debt's retired and whatnot, so that's why that's going away. Somebody had asked that question before, I think hypothetically. Anyway, as you can see from this map, that if we were to go to the 1%, our color would turn from green to yellow, and again, I think it was Alderman Levin who cited that perhaps other communities are thinking about capturing this opportunity as well, and if they did so, they would be in the 1.25, and Warrenville is a 1.25, and they're brown. So it leaves us in a position where we're not in any worse shape than any community surrounding us. And if you go to the right of Elmhurst, you go into Cook County, and there's an additional county tax there that makes them uncompetitive with DuPage County. Villa Park is non-home rule. It's not as easy. They've tried other referendums in the past and haven't really been real successful. So that's where they are, and we all know what Oak Brook is, what their revenue source from, and so they still have a home rule tax. So anyway, I just wanted this chart to everybody recognize the chart to see that we aren't, this was something that the committee considered very carefully in the deliberations, was the fact that if we were to do something like this, we didn't feel that we would be putting businesses at a disadvantage. And the simple fact remains, too, that today everybody's paying the Elmhurst home rule sales tax of 0.75%, and they're paying the DuPage Water Commission sales tax of 0.25%, which equals 1%, which is, will go away for 30 days, and then we would bring it back in the form of a home rule sales tax. So is it a change? Does it go away and come back? Absolutely, can't dispute that. But the fact is that at the end of the day, it really is an insignificant portion when it's considered that it already exists. And again, the best part about it is that it doesn't go on the tax bill. So while some may say, well, we're making our businesses less competitive, it's the consumer who pays the tax. The businesses have to go through the handling of the tax and remitting the tax. I understand that's a pain in the butt because I do that myself. But at the end of the day, it's consumers who are paying the tax, not the businesses. And if we were to be put into a situation where we had to find an alternative funding source for this tax, it would likely be property taxes, which means that everybody's property taxes would be going up, and that would fall squarely on the landowners of of the businesses. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional comments? Alderman Toledo.
Thank you. I will wrap up by just reiterating that a vote in support of the minority report with a sunset clause, again, does not limit us in any way, now or in the future. We don't know what that future will be, and that is the point of a sunset clause. It just requires that a future council take a look at the facts that are at hand at that point in time. Maybe we do contemplate stormwater debt service above and beyond 28 million. At that time, they can make that decision to extend the sunset clause in tandem with that additional debt service obligation. It has flexibility, and I would just reiterate that the sunset clause simply requires a future council to take a look at this and make sure that the tax is being used in the way that it's intended to the benefit of the community. Thank you.
Okay, any other additional comments? All right, I'm going to ask Clerk Spencer to call the vote. I'll remind council, this is just on the motion to substitute the minority report, which has the one change in it, which sunsets at 18 years. So, motion to substitute minority for the majority. Clerk Spencer.
Toledo.
Aye.
Levin.
No.
Kennedy.
No.
Conquest absent. Wagner.
No.
Olener.
No.
Deuter.
No.
Sabatino absent. Leader.
No.
Dunn.
No.
Graham.
Yes.
Polemski.
Aye.
York.
No.
Get everybody. And Healy absent. I think I got everyone. Okay, that's 3 ayes, 8 nays, and 3 absent.
3 ayes,
No,
8, yeah, that's.
Wait,
is it
yeah,
3 or
8 and 6 is 14, that's correct, right?
There's enough.
Yeah.
It's 8, it's
3 ayes, 8 nays, and 3 absent.
Yes. 3 ayes, 8 nays, motion fails. Back to the majority report before us. Additional comments as it relates to the majority. Alderman Toledo.
Thank you. I would just say that I do intend to support the majority report. I believe that the use of the sales tax for the intended purpose of the stormwater debt service is appropriate for all the reasons that have been stated. I still believe that it could have been stronger with the minority report with the sunset clause, but I do support the intention of the sales tax increase.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Alderman Toledo. Any additional comments or questions? Alderman Bram.
Yeah, I'll just say that I'll go back to my previous comments, and I think this is a good idea. Quite honestly, I think it might be a little early to consider it, so I can't support this. I think it would be a good idea to see on how we weather the storm for at least a half a year after this goes away to see if our sales tax rises significantly and we support our small businesses. And then reconsider this at some time in the future next year. But that's my viewpoint on the majority.
Okay, additional comments? Alderman Mulliner.
I just want to reiterate the point that this sales tax is going to help us to fund our stormwater. We're going to have a revenue, and I'm not sure, Alderman Bram, what revenue source you feel is going to be appropriate.
Please address the chair.
Sorry. I'm not
Thank you,
sure.
Alderman Bram.
You're correct. I'm sorry. I apologize for that, but I'm not sure what other revenue source would be intended to use for the stormwater management, but this is a solution that is, as I said before, something that I think is positive because it utilizes dollars from outside of the city of Elmhurst.
Any additional comments for the chair? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll on the majority. Oh, yes?
Thank you, Mr.
Alderman
Mayor.
Bram.
I'll just respond from the standpoint of, I think as we all know, our fund balance is healthy, and I don't think 6 months would be anything crucial for us to weather the storm with a very healthy fund balance. We have a working cash fund, and if you look at 6 months in the grand scheme of our overall budget, it is something that we can handle, and at that time, we can decide if we needed to implement it or not. I will go back to history. When we initiated the motor fuel tax of 1.50 cents, some colleagues made mention of, we'll revisit this and we'll pull it back, and all these other fun statements, and as we all know today, we still have that 1.50 tax. So once a tax is implemented, other than having a sunset clause, I think it's difficult to remove because you get accustomed to those dollars. So therefore, my comments back to those questions that were stated earlier is that I think we can weather the storm in 6 months and revisit it at that point, instead of implementing something today that we don't know is a necessity.
Okay. Seeing no more hands, I'm going to ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll.
York.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
No.
Palumski.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
And everybody. 10 ayes, 1 nay, 3 absent.
10 ayes, 1 nay, motion carries. Agenda item 9.4 is approved. On to agenda item 9.6. It's a report out of finance. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the recommendation.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Finance, Council Affairs, and Administrative Services Committee that the City Council approve the City of Elmhurst 2015 tax levy in the amount of $9,444,616, representing no increase in the city's tax levy compared to 21-4. Furthermore, it is the recommendation of the FCAAS Committee that the City Council approve the abatement of the current debt service obligation for the city's general obligation bonds in the amount of $5,413,446, which includes an additional decrease of $500,000 in the city's portion of the tax bill from 2014. The FCAAS committee also recommends that the City Council direct the city attorney to prepare the 2015 tax levy ordinance and appropriate debt service abatement ordinances. Signed by Kevin L. York, Chairman Bob Dunn, Vice Chairman Noel P. Toledo, and Mark P. Sabatino.
Okay, to put this before council, I will ask for a motion to approve the recommendation, and report and recommendation is read. Alderman York, second by Alderman Dunn. Alderman York, report out of your committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I'd like to thank this great committee, the city manager, department heads, and most notably Finance Director Gaston and Assistant Finance Director Troyzine, for everyone's hard work in putting together the budget document that's leading up to this report. Last year, a few weeks from now, we were contemplating a tax levy and the adoption of a budget in the same meeting, while tonight we are proposing a tax levy ahead of the actual budget approval. I think this might be considered progress. As the tax levy report we're looking at here tonight has many elements to it, what I'd like to do is highlight the end result, just as we did in our committee report. The end result is that the City of Elmhurst, aside from the library, will reduce its cumulative tax levy on its taxpayers for 2015 by nearly $591,000. Elmhurst taxpayers will give the City of Elmhurst over $500,000 less for 2015 than they did for 2014. I think that's worth repeating. Elmhurst taxpayers will give the city over $500,000 less this year than they did last year. And for the average home with a 2015 value of just over $327,000, which is up from last year, the average home was $293,000, represents almost a 12% increase in the home values, the city portion of the tax bill will decrease by $32.30. So I think this is, all in all, good news. As a reminder for everybody up here and certainly everybody at home, there are 3 line items on a tax bill that relate to the city of Elmhurst. It's the city of Elmhurst, the pension fund, and the city of Elmhurst library. The library line item will increase $5.77 for the average home based on the levy that their board recommended. So for tonight, I'm going to skip the customary history lesson that I usually provide at tax levy discussions. That history hasn't changed much and can be viewed in meeting archives. I am, however, going to outline what led the committee to reach the decision that we did. As we are all aware, the general fund, it was mentioned tonight, not that long ago, currently has what we term a surplus balance. A chart can be found on page 108 of your budget book, and you can look at that at your leisure. This surplus balance is above the prescribed range of 25 to 33% of annual expenditures, or a range of roughly $12 million to $16 million, which represents 3 to 4 months of operating expenses. Current projection for the 12/31/15 general fund balance is roughly $21 million. The budget for 2016 as presented and as we're discussing utilizes about $2.4 million of that surplus balance during 2016 for expenses, yielding an estimated general fund balance at 12/31/16 of $18.7 million, or about $2 million over the top end of the prescribed general fund balance. Going even further out into 2017, the details of which we will be debated in 2016 about this time, another $4 million of general fund balance is estimated to be utilized. Quite simply, the point is that we are making decisions today that will utilize some of the surplus fund balance in lieu of raising the 2015 property tax levy, period. I believe this is the right thing to do, but needs to be done with good discussion and debate, utilizing all the best information that we have at our disposal at that moment. With this being the case, why wouldn't we consider a greater tax reduction at this time? Well, as our report clearly spells out, we discuss many things in arriving at our conclusion as to what to recommend. Sure, revenue sources other than tax revenue are moving upwards, and that's a great sign. But what happens if we were to lose a major sales tax contributor, or a particular retail sector takes a hit for any given reason? And this year, we are taking yet another pension funding reset that was thrust upon us by actuaries to the tune of over $650,000. So we continue to be aware of the scope of the stormwater projects, as Alderman Kennedy's pointed out, that are out there throughout the city, and we've budgeted about $24 million over the course of the next 2 years to tackle just what we believe is a small portion of those. We all know about economic development initiatives and the cost of those, but most of us all realize that additional resources will likely be required to keep Elmhurst moving forward in the very critical area of economic development. When you put in perspective all these what-ifs, as well as not only methodically restoring service levels over the past few years, but increasing them in 2016 per the budget, we're taking a second step to restore all debt service costs back to an abated basis. So reserving a couple $1 million in the general fund balance above the maximum prescribed balance, again, seems both reasonable and appropriate, especially as we might be required to scramble for some unfunded mandate or revenue decrease that might be handed down to us from Springfield. So as usual, this committee will work tirelessly, as I'm sure the council will as well, to look at every opportunity available to reduce the tax burden on the taxpayer going forward. This review will not only take place at budget and levy deliberations, but as we routinely examine other matters related to finances in the city of Elmhurst. It is once again with a great sense of accomplishment and an eye to even greater outcomes in the future that I ask for your support of this committee's report. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Comments or questions? Alderman Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask the chair, the the additional, if I'm correct, it's an additional $500,000 in abatement to a total of $1 million this year. And it's still part of the 5-year plan to get to zero.
Yes.
Year 2?
Yeah, this is year 2, and we had, the reason that the tax amount is the $591,000 is because we actually had then about $91,000 of debt that expired in this year. So we're not paying that $91,000, and I think even the good news is that if projections go according to debt service schedules, which we believe they will, that at the end of next year's, if we're able to keep on our track, our 5-year track, we'll actually be finished in year 3. So we will actually have all the debt back, all the debt that should be abated back on the abated side of the ledger.
Back on the city side, and then not on the resident side.
That's right.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Alderman Dunn?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to expand a little bit on what Alderman York had mentioned, we had a very large increase in our pension requirements for this year because of new actuarial tables that we have to use, or we chose to use, and that increased those obligations by over $700,000, and what the committee decided to do was to offset that and absorb that pension increase by choosing to not raise the city levy. And in addition, as was discussed, the reduction in the debt that's not abated by over $500,000. At first, I was there was some concern, not for the end of this year, because we're still well above the 25 to 33% end-of-year balance for our general fund, but next year it looked like we were getting well down into that, so I actually had some concerns over this level of reduction, but I'm very supportive of it. And I think at the end of this year, we're still in a very healthy position and continue to look carefully at our fiscal position and make adjustments as needed. So I think it's the right thing to do. Thanks.
Okay, additional comments. Alderman Levin.
I wanted to, two things. I want to compliment the committee. I think this is excellent work. Very often I hear members of the public tell us that we're spending money we don't have and wondering where everything's going to come from. Well, the fact is, what this report shows us is that we're in excellent financial condition. We've maintained our reserves. We have not raised the property taxes, and if we look back, although Alderman York didn't give the history lesson, since 2009, all in all, the property taxes are flat or down since 2010. And we are also the abatement is being adjusted to the favor of the taxpayer. For those who didn't see the Tribune last Friday, it had a report of all the municipalities in the Chicago area and talked about the property tax rate, and Elmhurst is one of the lowest for both business and for commercial and residential properties. And I think that that shows the kind of fiscal restraint we have. I also wanted to, I was going to do this under reports of elected officials, but it kind of ties in here, if I may. And I was going to comment that I had received a number of calls from residents regarding the recent assessment notices, and this kind of ties in here. They were mailed out by the York Township assessor, and I assume Addison will, if it hasn't come out, it will. And it ties into this report because I think people get confused and they believe that an increase in the property value necessarily leads to a proportional increase in taxes. And based on those discussions, it seems there are some misunderstandings, and I wanted to comment on that. Every 4 years, the property values are reassessed in York Township as they are in Addison. The assessment is based on the 3 years prior to January 1, 2015, to give a valuation as of January 1/2015. As in many municipalities, our property values dropped sharply in 2009 and 2010 during the recession, after peak years of 2006 and 2007. And while other municipalities have slowly been increasing their property values since the recession, I've done some research, and Elmhurst values have risen quickly and are virtually the same as they were in peak years. So since the valuations only go back 3 years, the recession years have now dropped out of people's valuations. This is the first really complete reassessment we've had since 1991. The valuations are based on the style of the house. For instance, if it's a two-story house, the size, the age of the house, and the neighborhood. A new computer program was used this year to provide for a more accurate assessment. The past assessments were just factored, meaning that there was a general formula applied. The current process is much more thorough, and everyone should be now looking at something, it's an assessment that's about 1/3 of their fair market value. I personally spoke with the York Township assessor, who told me the average increase in Elmhurst of assessed value is 15%. Some of the residents who called me reported increased assessments of 25 or 30%. I have an email from one resident said his property and his neighbor's property went up 38 and 44% respectively. First, I wanted to say stop bragging, but that was not the point of the story. It may help understand that the taxing process, so people understand why their values may increase or decrease with little change in the actual taxes they're paying. Since we all know on the council that the tax bill is comprised of a number of different bodies taxing our property, including the City of Elmhurst, District 205, Elmhurst Park District, DuPage County, College of DuPage, DuPage County Forest Preserve District, and some others. The city portion of the bill is 8%, while District 205 is about 70% of the tax bill. Elmhurst Parks and Library are each about 5%. So less than 10% goes to county-level governments. Each tax district decides how much it will levy, as we are doing tonight, and it's divided amongst all the properties in the tax district based upon the valuation. So if everyone's property increases by 17%, then there will be virtually no change in the share of taxes that an individual homeowner is paying. Contrast with the situation where someone tears down a house worth $350,000, puts them in $1 million home, that additional valuation will increase the taxpayer's burden on that particular property. So similarly, when the property values dropped in 2009 or 2010, a lot of people thought, well, my tax bill will go down. Everyone's valuation dropped, so it was divided amongst those lower valuations. So I'm sorry, actually, I did want to clarify that for people, because basically what we're saying is the tax rate is based upon our levy. This committee has done a great job, I think, of maintaining those taxes, and people should expect, irrespective of what they see in their property tax bills, there should be very little change in the overall amount from the city.
Additional comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll.
York.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Polumsky.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Bevan.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries. Agenda item 9.6 is approved. Before we move on to 9.7, as council and audience is aware, I don't usually opine or have an opportunity to vote. However, I did want to take the opportunity to thank not only the committee but staff, Ms. Gaston and Mr. Trezine, for all of their hard work. It's one of the most important things we do here is we're stewards of the people of Elmhurst money. This is a conservative approach, yet it's a continued reduction of the tax burden. It also follows the plan that staff and that committee put in place to further reduce us passing along debt service. And I think people need to understand that when the city takes on debt, we have an opportunity to pass that debt along to the residents if we want during property tax season, or we can fund or pay down that debt with the money that we already have. And that's what we're choosing to do, continuing to not pass along that debt service to the residents of Elmhurst, but pay it out of the money that we already have. So I appreciate committee's hard work, and I think it's good news that we can do all the things that we're doing. As Alderman Levin mentioned, still have a healthy fund balance, keep residents safe, keep our roads fixed, and further reduce the tax burden by $500,000. So thank you to everybody, elected officials and staff alike, as we continue to move forward in this process. Agenda item 9.7, under committee reports. Clerk Spencer, I would ask that you read the recommendation.
Therefore, the Development, Planning, and Zoning Committee recommends that the City Council approve the applicant's request for a conditional use permit for the purpose of constructing a cell tower with the following conditions. A, best management practices are required to be installed at the time of construction following the design direction of the DuPage County countywide stormwater and floodplain ordinance pursuant to the city engineer's approval. B, except for the surface approximately 7 feet in diameter on which the tower pad is placed, the remainder of the 70 by 70 property leased by applicant for the tower, including the access road, shall be covered with gravel of a size and characteristic approved by the city or some other permeable material acceptable to the city. And C, the tower is required to be a monopine tower. The city attorney is hereby directed to prepare the necessary documents for city council approval. Signed by Scott M. Levin, Chairman, Mark A. Mulliner, Vice Chairman, unsigned by Michael Honquist.
Okay, to put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the report and recommendation as read. Motion by Alderman Levin, second by Alderman Mulliner. Alderman Levin, this is a report out of your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to point out it's unsigned by Michael Honquist, I believe, because he was not present at the committee meeting, and he's not here tonight, so I wanted to mention that. You heard public comment about various concerns. In addition to the Zoning and Planning Commission having a full hearing and issuing a unanimous vote, we spent, I believe, something close to an hour in committee going through all the concerns of the residents. And I feel that we gave it a fair hearing. The majority of the concerns, particularly for the properties that are north or rather west of the location, and we saw pictures, experienced significant flooding. And I felt that probably the biggest concern was that this development would exacerbate that problem. But the fact is that the agreement by the applicant to use gravel that is permeable, and they're also volunteering to do best management practices, which would suggest that it's opposed to causing more water problems in the neighborhood, there should be less or at a minimum neutral. The applicant voluntarily put in the monopine. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, it's a covering of the cellular tower to look like a pine tree, although a very big one. I think, if I recall, the cost was an additional $50,000. I know people don't like that, but the alternative is the applicant didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do the best management practices, but they volunteered to do it. We were explored and felt confident that the location isn't one that could be moved someplace else in the cemetery. There are strict requirements in terms of the engineering of where this can go. Recently, there was a concern about IEEE standards, which are engineering standards regarding grounding of the tower, and the document referred to tonight that you all saw in your packet is a document that says the applicant agrees to meet those standards. That is not a zoning concern, that's a building concern, and it will be up to our building commissioner to make sure that happens. It was pulled off the agenda last meeting because there was a concern that Alderman Bram expressed, and we looked at in terms of the height, and the bulk regulations do permit it as a conditional use, which has been approved. I understand people don't want them in their neighborhood. I am also mindful of the fact that it's very close adjacent to the entire row of ComEd power lines that run through the entire path there. So it's not completely out of character for the neighborhood. They met the requirements. We feel the applicant went above and beyond what they were required to do, and we're recommending passage.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Alderman Bram?
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Levin. I appreciate this being held back for 2 weeks to validate my last-minute concerns of reading in the CR district, and I will touch on this in a little bit, but the CR district, Conservation and Recreation Zoning District, is where this is being proposed for a conditional use. In that zoning code, it's stipulated that this was too big. But as Alderman Levin already stated, there's a section that I wasn't aware about, this bulk regulations section that I guess trumps everything. And this section, actually, I could build a tower tomorrow in my backyard, and so could anybody in the city of Elmhurst. So I think, according to this section, we need to modify our code because it really does allow permitted use for a certain height, but even a conditional use for anyone in the neighborhood to build a tower in their backyard. What I really want to emphasize here is a few things. One of which the petitioner has come out on multiple occasions, and I want to thank my residents in the 3rd Ward for coming out tonight and the Zoning Planning Commission meetings as well as the committee meetings to speak about their concerns, and I spoke with them on multiple occasions. But the petitioner made a statement today that I think everybody should pay attention to. The petitioner made a statement saying, the cemetery doesn't like any other location. Not that it's allowed. The cemetery doesn't like any of the other locations in the cemetery. So let's put it in a location where our residents, the city of Elmhurst residents, don't like it. He didn't say that part. But the petitioner openly admitted in public forum that the cemetery doesn't like it. Not that it doesn't meet standards, but it doesn't meet what they would prefer, and that's putting it in the corner of the cemetery, which abuts closest to the residents of Elmhurst, as well as unincorporated DuPage County. I think that is a very important point. Why should the city of Elmhurst residents suffer? Because the cemetery as a whole doesn't like it in any other part of their cemetery. They would still get the revenue, but it's just not a good fit in any other part, according to them. And I respect their perspective. But I don't think, though, that the flip side should be that the city of Elmhurst residents should suffer because the cemetery didn't like any other location. As some of the residents already stated, 294 County Line Road, many of opportunities there. Monopine is actually very unique, and I think someone stated that it might be the first in Illinois. It's typically done in the southern states. They don't like cell towers. They haven't liked it since cellular was created, and therefore they came up with monopine to hide or disguise the ugly tower. And the potential, and it is only potential, it's speculation, there hasn't been research studies to confirm one way or another if this is a health hazard or not, and I think it was documented in one of those reports. So not only is the location abutting some of the residents of Elmhurst as well as DuPage County, but the access road runs along the city of Elmhurst residents' homes. Again, convenient? Sure, for the people utilizing this tower, but not for the city of Elmhurst residents. There's access that could be had, if so chosen, off of Grand Avenue, but this is off of Wrightwood, which is Elmhurst residents. Now, it claims in one of the reports that this will only be done once a month. I worked in the industry for 20 years. If there's a cellular outage, it's not once a month. If there's a cellular outage, it's every day until that's rectified. And not during daytime hours, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. some of the criteria that we use to approve conditional use is, does it disrupt or impact the neighborhood? The reports have stated, no, it doesn't. I say with the examples I've given, it definitely does. Not only from the height, monopine or not, the height is 100 feet, which far exceeds anything in our zoning code. The access road, another issue, and the mere fact that the cemetery just doesn't like it in any other location. The last point I want to talk about, I referenced before, is CR district, zoning district, conservation recreation district. It states the CR district is designed to preserve and protect large open space uses and to encourage the development of land for open space, in quotes, recreational activities, or conserve natural resources. This is not one of those. There's also questions of where's the base station? Is it on the ground? You know, those little buildings that actually have the equipment. It's not shown in this beautiful picture, which just shows this fake tree. But that is going to be an issue, accessing that in all hours of the night. So I plead to my colleagues here, this is not, if this was a commercial district, it would be okay to consider. These people are living besides a CR district. Conserve, that's the word. Conserve the property. This is not doing such.
Alderman Levin.
Well, I just want to make a couple points. One is the location within the cemetery wasn't, the cemetery didn't like it here or there. There were certain locations where it would work, but it would interfere with cemetery operations, meaning where they might have to put graves, where they might have to put other uses for the cemetery. So it was the only one that was allowed by the cemetery, not just that they didn't want it somewhere else, and the engineering was that it wouldn't work along Grand Avenue. The number of times per month, I personally have some experience representing cell tower sites, and it is about once a month, if that. There is no, like there was in the old days, little brick house. It's a little cabinet that goes right onto the tower. It's a pickup truck that pulls up. The access road is off of Wrightwood because that's where the location is. So I understand it's an emotional issue, and I understand, I think we gave it a fair hearing. I do think, as I told Alderman Bram, that there is a need to, and I'm going to ask our committee to do it, to look at where these bulk requirements fit, and in particular, where they're located in the code, because, in the zoning ordinance, because they're very hard to find, and see how they fit into the rest of the zoning ordinance structure. But the last point that I want to make is that the safety issue is perhaps a red herring, perhaps not, but the federal government has preempted the field, and a local municipality is not allowed to consider that in the zoning decision. Nonetheless, we were in contact, the school board was contacted because it was expressed that they would have concerns. They don't. Even if they did, although we asked the question, there's nothing we can do about it. I've also represented a number of billboard companies. No one ever came to me and said, can you get me one in my neighborhood? They're not popular to have, but we also recognize in the committee that they serve a valuable function. We have an exception in our zoning code that says that if it's a public utility, like the phone company, the power company, we can't prevent them from putting their towers in the neighborhood. And if you look at our utility tax, you'll see that landline use is steadily decreasing, cell tower use is steadily increasing. People count on cell towers to have reliable communications throughout this city and wherever else they're located. So I still ask for your support on this report.
Any additional comments? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll.
Levin.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Schroeder.
No.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
No.
Volumsky.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy. Absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Lundquist, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
9 ayes, 2 nays, and 3 absent.
9 ayes, 2 nays, motion carries. Agenda item 9.7 is approved. On to reports and recommendations. Reports and recommendations, 10.1, Mayor Morley, that's me, a couple of things. First, even though it's 10 o'clock, I wish to remind folks that we will be holding as much of a budget meeting as we can handle after this. Second, I had an opportunity, along with several of the aldermen, to attend the Veterans Day ceremony over at Wilder Park at our memorial there. It was a beautiful day. Bill Shanklin, Ralph Paccianio, and all involved, I want to thank you. It was a terrific ceremony. And at the end of the ceremony, we actually did something a little different. We walked about 75 yards to the east, and we're very fortunate to rededicate the Vietnam War Memorial. I want to thank Alderman Wagner, who has worked hard on that, among others. Council may recall, one of our residents, Kevin Calkins, came and stood at that very microphone and said, we need to honor our Vietnam War vets. And I don't know what's worse, the fact that we thought we didn't have a memorial, or the fact that we found one out about 3 weeks after the fact. So after we found that we actually did have one, we did what was right, and we had it refurbished, renewed, and reset. And it's on a 5,000-pound piece of granite that I don't think any lawnmower could run over. So I'm very happy that we were able to do a rededication of that memorial at the end of Veterans Day. Also took the opportunity to run down to the Legion and see Commander Scudder and have lunch with my dad and my brother. So that was great. And remind everyone that Legion is open to the public. We have a and I saw Alderman Bram there enjoying lunch as well. We have a Stormwater Communications Committee meeting December 9th. I want to remind everybody, December 9th in these chambers at 7 o'clock. I want to let the aldermen, the fellow elected officials know that I know sometimes it's far and few between that you get a thank you, but we had a resident, Jackie Haddad, who was very happy with some of the work we've done recently. So some of that food you see up here is a result of Mrs. Haddad saying thank you. There's some additional food in back that we didn't keep up here. We'll grab it right between budget and here, Alderman Levin. So I want to thank Jackie Haddad for that. Also, we did have an opportunity to recognize Maddie Hurt, and I think that's great. I think hopefully council's aware that we had another state champion. The Timothy Christian soccer team, boys soccer team, won a state championship. So just recently, we'll be in contact with them and recognize them here at City Council. And budget afterwards. That's all I got. City Manager.
Nothing right now, thank you.
You trying to cut things short,
Yeah.
City Manager? Slow it down a little? Or speed it up, that's right.
Speed it up.
Okay, any additional, any other reports from officials? Alderman Mulliner.
Just very quick, there was a group of aldermen along with a couple of community members who met with the American Legion. I'm glad that this has been highlighted to the public that the American Legion is an open facility. I just want to remind everybody that on November 29th, there will be an open house at the American Legion, and we will be working very closely with the American Legion to assist them so that they can continue to maintain a presence in Elmhurst.
Okay. Other reports? Seeing none, we'll move on. Agenda item 11, ordinances. 11.1, that was an ordinance that was put on pending decisions that would have been made in executive session. The decisions were not made in executive session, so that item is no longer relevant. We will not be voting on that tonight. On to 11.2, it's an ordinance, and I would ask Clerk Spencer to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance waiving bid and authorizing the purchase, installation, and maintenance of 2 additional automated parking terminals for installation at the Addison Street deck from Total Parking Solutions, Inc.
Okay, I'll ask for to put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the ordinance as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy?
No comments.
No comment. Okay, stands for itself. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to please call a roll.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin.
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays, motion passes. Agenda item 11.2 is approved. On to 11.3. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you read the ordinance.
An ordinance waiving bid and authorizing the execution of an agreement between Nafisco, Inc. and the City of Elmhurst for the installation of signage at the Addison Street parking deck.
Sorry. I'll add to put this motion before, this ordinance before council. I'll ask for a motion to approve the ordinance as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy?
As is.
As is. Any other additional comments? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to please call the roll.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin.
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries. Agenda item 11.3 is approved. On to 11.4. Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you read the ordinance.
An ordinance waiving bid and authorizing the execution of an agreement between Horizon Ornamental Steel and City of Elmhurst for the installation of ornamental steel at the Addison Street parking deck.
To put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the ordinance as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing further to add.
Additional comments? Clerk Spencer, please call the roll.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Deuter.
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Palumski.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin.
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries. Agenda item 11.4 is approved. On to agenda item 12, resolutions. 12.1, Clerk Spencer, I'd ask that you read the resolution.
A resolution of the City of Elmhurst to approve and authorize the execution of a license agreement with Addison Corridor Development 1, LLC.
Okay, this is a resolution following up on the report that we had this evening. To put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing further to add.
Okay. Clerk, any other comments? Sorry. Clerk Spencer?
Okay, that's Kennedy,
Aye.
Deuter,
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader,
Aye.
Dunn,
Aye.
Graham.
No.
Did you say no?
No.
Palumski,
Aye.
York,
Aye.
Toledo,
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin,
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner,
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
10 ayes, 1 nay, 3 absent.
10 ayes, 1 nay, motion carries. Agenda item 12.1 passes. On to 12.2. This refers to Report 9.1. Normally, when you see a report and a resolution or ordinance in the same meeting, it's because it's time sensitive, and typically when that happens, we will put in the report, or the chairman and committee will put in the report, part of the report is the recommendation that we suspend the rules. There was what I'll call an oversight on this one. Agenda item 9.1 was a report out of Public Works, and it did not contain the phrase recommendation to suspend the rules to vote on it the same evening, which is tonight, but we can still do that, and the way we do that is I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules before we entertain agenda item 12.2. So a motion to suspend the rules, Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. This is a motion to suspend the rules that normally requires a 2-week wait between a report approval and a resolution or an ordinance. We're approving the same evening due to a timing issue. Any additional comments, Alderman Kennedy, on the motion to suspend the rules?
No comments.
Any other comments or questions?
Voice
Clerk Spencer?
Voice
No,
vote?
I need
Oh, all right,
a roll call,
all
sorry.
right.
This is on the motion to suspend, then we'll have another motion to approve.
Right. Okay, that was Kennedy,
Aye.
Deuter,
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader,
Aye.
Dunn,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Palumski,
Aye.
York,
Aye.
Toledo,
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin,
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner,
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
That's 11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays. Motion to suspend the rules to allow for a vote on agenda item 12.2 is approved. On to agenda item 12.2. I'll ask Clerk Spencer to read the resolution.
A resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 6 for the steel work of the Addison Street Parking Deck project in the city of Elmhurst, Illinois.
Okay, put this before council. I'll ask for a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Deuter. Alderman Kennedy,
No further comments, Mr. Mayor.
any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to call a roll.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Deuter,
Aye.
Sabatino, absent. Leader,
Aye.
Dunn,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Palumski,
Aye.
York,
Aye.
Toledo,
Aye.
Healy, absent. Levin,
Aye.
Conquest, absent. Wagner,
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
11 ayes, 0 nays, 3 absent.
11 ayes, 0 nays. Agenda item 12.2 passes. On to other business. Any other business? Okay, we have a budget immediately following. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Alderman York, second by Alderman Mulliner. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? We're adjourned. Let's do 3 minutes, folks, and get back here as quickly as possible. Thank you.